Hello, everybody. Today is June 1st, 2024, and I'm doing the best that I can with a visual here. The other horses are not out today, and I decided to come to one of the further points that I can go on my property next to the neighbors to get a view of the horses for you. It's a very chemtraily day here in Michigan, but otherwise the weather is beautiful and slightly breezy, so you may hear some gusts of wind come through every once in a while. The pasture that you see right here in the front, where you might be able to see a little bit of the fencing that I'm trying to zoom through, it's in a healing process. It's being allowed to rejuvenate and recover, which interestingly, yes, Lord, I see the emphasis here. I did not bring cough drops with me, so I'm praying, Father, that you're going to help me. I do have a little bit of juice with me. I'm going to preface this with I am in a major healing mode with God. He spoke to me as I reiterated it to you all that I'm on a bit of a break here, and it is for rest. And I can now see why He needed that time for me. He said that many of his children have been plugging away with him, doing the work of the ministry and lifting the burdens of the brethren and bringing the words forth of knowledge and warning and teaching. And he has a need to heal us and restore us as well in all different facets, depending on the individual life, what he is speaking about. But I can tell you that for myself, what I'm going through is soul healing deliverance with him right now, pertaining to a fractured part of myself that I was unaware of. Well, I was unaware of in the extreme and extent of what is going on, pretty much clueless, but there were signs as I look back now. And I have been through alone with him through inner healing as he would as he had brought up the need for it through another individual, which I'll forever be grateful to. And then I extended my hand to him as an adult, as someone who has the free will now to join him and to trust him, to allow him to walk through these parts of my past that are very painful, that in what the psychology world would lead us to is coping mechanisms. That's how they would explain it. But really, the way that God designed us in our garden is that we have the possibility of breaking away and going to another part of the garden and holing up there, if you will. And I've been through this process before where in one place I saw him recover about a 6 or 7 year old me from a dungeon, quite literally a dungeon. And that dungeon was from, at that point, what I realized it was from abuse and from neglect, trauma based in that way. And so there were a lot of there's a lot of trust issues revolving around that, as well as fear and bitterness and anger. And I saw the little girl lash out at him before she finally succumbed to who he really is and she allowed him, this little girl part of me allowed him to embrace her. And then he carried me out of there, and as he was carrying me out, I saw these memories on the wall playing over and over again. And that has forever stayed with me, and I understand trauma in people a little bit better now from seeing that. Well, recently, during this time period where I have been fasting, today is day 14. I did eat one bite of something last night, like a mouthful, and I can't stomach it right now because I'm going through so much. So I mean, technically I'm still fasting. And I Forgive me, I'm going through what we would call a twisted stomach right now. because of the things that I'm releasing and working through in this deliverance process. So like butterflies and whatnot. Um, but it was brought up to me during this process. A few things were brought up through an individual that the Lord was working with, because she had said that she's going to fast with me, but not fast. She's going to eat for me while I'm fasting because of why I'm fasting and what I need from Him, being led by Him to do so. And He, because of this genuine heart stance that she has for me to be in remembrance of me not eating when she does eat, she's been praying and interceding for me, and He's been showing her things. And some of the things were this stronghold of entrapment due to trauma, and this self condemnation meaning locking self away, because to be condemned is to be locked up and no longer habitable, like a condemned house. And the thing that the person didn't know is this was literally taking place in my consciousness, aware that this was taking place when he was showing her this. and and I mean, in the last week I locked myself away from God, because we're never going to overcome the dragon by the blood in our testimony if we don't have one. And so I'm testifying to you, I'm witnessing to you that I willingly locked myself away from him in this panicky fit of um, fear, anger, frustration, hopelessness, and trust issues with him. And I did say that 2024 was going to be about exposure and revealing things. And even though these things sound terrible, they have to be revealed in us. And I have been praying for many years now for the integration of my parts, for the congruency of body, soul, and spirit. And I cannot explain to you how much layers the soul has, how many different uh, portions of the soul that there really is that you operate in. And that garden, if you picture a garden being like many, 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 many acres large, okay? There's many places that someone can hide in there from God, a portion of yourself. Meaning, for instance, if you went through a terrible abuse, sometimes people will go to a safe space inside and lock themselves away while the abuse is taking place. Do you understand what I'm saying? I'm sorry, this is going to be very emotional for me because I'm revealing these things now. Like I'm giving them a voice to myself, to everyone. So this person had been seeing where I was holed up inside, and that the Lord was sitting there where I was, next to this huge ancient tree where I was hiding in like a little inner cove of the base of this ginormous tree that um, was very beautiful in and of its own right, and the branches were sort of like slides to play on and stuff. And she knew that I was there somewhere, and she needed to seek me out with the Lord, and they were both there in the spirit, and I was hiding inside of there. And she said that she watched the Lord. I was about 6, she said, and she said she watched the Lord sit at this campfire beside the tree or near the tree, and he was roasting like a sausage on a stick, and then he was roasting it turned into a marshmallow, and he would just kind of like, if you can imagine him in his own little world, but he's aware that little girl is there, and he's humming, and he's peaceful to himself, and he's smiling, and he kind of like gestures the food toward her, like points the stick toward her to ask her if she would like to receive some of this food from him. And provision, if you will. And she, the woman that was interceding for me, said that she saw me reluctantly but very bravely come out, and the woman had asked if I would like to come to Jesus. That little section of me would like to return to him as well for freedom and healing and wholeness. And she said that I was wide eyed. Again, this reminds me of the time that I saw myself in that dungeon. And I was very wide eyed, like kind of fearful to, like visually to explain that. And but yet very brave, and I kept walking toward him, and as soon as I was ready to take their hand, you know, this gigantic fear entity, witch like thing came down in between and filled up all the space, and then I retreated back into that little cove, and then bars came down. And the whole reason I'm telling you that is because what took place in my consciousness as an adult was that I saw myself freaking out like this past week, inside, internally, emotionally, and mentally, and being angry with him, and sh- just shouting inside, like, don't come near me, don't talk to me, like, no good intentions for me, fear clearly. And so all of that was taking place over my current situation, meaning like my body, my soul state now, um, where I'm at in life. So there very much was a spirit of fear that came in warfare against me where I am right now in my life. And that caused that little unhealed, fractured part of my soul to retreat again, where I was just coming out to move with him in wanting to trust him in all of these ways and embrace him. And I never made it to that place with him from what the woman saw. However, the way that it ended twice was she had two visions, and one was that I did rise up with um, my weapon in my hand eventually at these beings, and they cowered and ran. And the other with this scenario was that the Lord was not concerned. He knew that I would be well, and he would wait there for me to come out again. If we have these parts inside of us that due to trauma have not healed, there will be signs. And I had signs that this was going on. I have had these signs that he and when I explain this, please understand this is a projection of the little person of me that needs healing. When I get close to him, even as an adult, and it's a very intimate, very pure moment, and I want to just go hug him in the spirit realm, sometimes I'll see him hit me with a black arm, a black fist and a black arm. And I know that that's a projection of fear and mistrust. And as much as abuse and neglect was part of that dungeon part of me, this little girl's part that I'm dealing with right now is betrayal and lack of trust. And the reason I'm bringing it up to any of you is first of all, I don't enjoy doing this whatsoever. I don't enjoy the process right now, but I know that it is so good of a process to deal with these things, and to get healed and to work through them, although they can take some time, and I'm in the middle of it. So you're hearing that in me right now. But the reason I'm bringing that up is because he's like, this is not just you. Many of my children don't even know that this is going on, and that they have these spaces where they don't fully trust me yet either. And he said that this one that you're dealing with is betrayal and mistrust from bad conduct of adult figures, people that were supposed to be mature in your life, who promised you or spoke to you that they had nothing but good intentions. And then he literally said earlier, almost every single one of them went back on their word. So when you have, the whole point is, when you have that going on and you have a history of being a child who is innocent and looking for every other adult figure that they should be protective and loving and kind and generous and defend you, and they do everything else, there is mental abuse and emotional abuse and physical beatings, and there is sexual abuse and social abuses, like humiliating someone in front of all these different things that can happen, you'll often find a way to cope if you're still alive. And oftentimes that'll be a retreat somewhere inside, and the adult you is unaware that that's what took place when you were a child. And for me, I had the signs, but I did not know the extent. I can feel it now because it's all coming forth. A lot of deliverance is just not running from him in all of this and facing it all with him and realizing he's here now. So all these feelings that you were feeling before, like the pit in my stomach thing that's going on, and the my eyes looking left and right and wide-eyed, and the feelings of all that fear and stuff, don't run from him, because the situation is different now. I have to work through that with him. I have to relinquish my trust to him in every opportunity like this that I can. And I am, listen, folks, I'm fumbling through this like any one of us would with him. But the signs were there. The signs were that there was a part of me that could not connect fully to joy and peace and love and contentment and safety. And the other part of me that was working with God is very resolute and strong. And do you see, like, there's okay, so there's the me that I have been functioning through, which is in agreement with God, who knows who he is, who is willing to side with him and come against the enemy. And then inside of me there's this little girl who's in her own little world, quite literally telling God, I don't want to hear it, I don't want to hear it, I don't want to hear it, please don't talk to me, please don't talk, I can't handle any more words, I need someone to show me love. Because what he said to me was that a lot of words have been spoken to me, but a lot of people have betrayed and turned down those words. And so I was very unable to connect to proper, fundamentally positive emotional state inside my person because of this fractured, broken little part of me. And he said that there are many people out there like this, that they're clueless. They don't know why they're feeling numb and can't connect and just be at peace and um, etc. and so on. And one of the things that really was God will use anything, and there's always perfect timing. And so I've been going through this for a few days of, I'll be real clear, I had to decide I even wanted to even try to trust him, because for many days I was like, I do not want to come out. I'm sorry. And then the other part of me is like, I'm really sorry that I'm bucking you in this way, but I don't know what to do because she's freaking out and she's a little girl and she's scared, and I'm doing the best I can to work with you in my other parts. And what happened last night was someone on Facebook, and I told you guys there's this spirit on Facebook, and he was warning everyone, well, it's coming out more and more every day, like he said it would. And someone who professes to be a Christ follower posted something on Facebook, and it was a nude picture of an old lady. I mean, topless, you know. Um, and and it was purported something like, I saw this on Marketplace, it must be a joke, because there was something under it that the woman was taking a picture of to sell, but it was a reflection in a mirror and she had no clothes on. Now, whether she meant to do that or not is not even the point. The point is that as a Christian, I pop on to check my notifications, and that is in my face. You know that, number one, Satan wants that promoted. Number two, why is a man of God posting a nude picture? Because it's a pornographic image that now everybody has to be cleansed in their soul from what they saw. And can you imagine the stumbling block if he causes somebody to go to pornography that night because of what they were introduced to, or a child for that matter? A child. So I was triggered inside because I said, you don't understand what you're doing. You're causing a stumbling block. You're causing problems for the eye gates and the ear gates of God's people. You are and they were refusing to take it down. No, I'm not going to take it down. I've seen this stuff in Africa, and you guys need to grow up, and etc. and so on. And I said, this is beyond what you will see in the natural because of some tribal thing that comes up in your face in real life, and for pushing it online, disrespecting that woman, putting her out there in that manner for everyone to see. with no respect to her, as well as what you are causing as a stumbling block to others. And God is working to try to heal people like me from all of this betrayal from somebody who is supposed to look like God, putting forth these things to a woman. Because I say all of that because I, right then and there, was dealing with coming out of all these adult figures in my life. A lot of men, some women, but a lot of men who had done me wrong in my emotions, in my mental abuse, in the social humiliation that they said things in front of others, and sexual abuse. And here it is, a man of God who has 5,000 friends on Facebook and 10,000 followers in addition, so 15,000 people that will be exposed to what he just put out there. And I told him all that, and he took it down eventually. He had no intention, though. He posted the next day, I'm not taking it down. Y'all need to grow up. You have a religious spirit. And I said, this is the problem in the church right now, or the people called by your name who are not humble, nor are they even caring about the brethren. And there is some broken bitterness in that person that needs healing. But I said to him, I said, all I ever wanted, God, was for you to save me in the flesh. And he showed me a picture of my childhood when I said that, and I meant it. I meant it now. Save my flesh from the enemy who has come, and he has struck me in my mouth. He has struck me in my flesh. He has struck me in my heart. He has struck me in my mind. In this life, all I ever wanted was for you to help me and save me. And he showed me childhood of me not having anywhere to go, because you can't run from your family. You can't run from that when you're a child. You can't run from other people's unhealed parts. And so I hid away inside to survive. And what that man did when he posted that, I had to then say to God, this is why I can't trust you. Okay, it's not true. I mean, but this is my little girl part that's still broken, needing to be healed, saying that guy is supposed to represent you. He claims he represents you. And if I was that woman, I am that woman. We all come out of you to begin with. He just took that image and humiliated me publicly as a woman, and he showed my private bits, and he pushed that as if that's some kind of godly image that you would do to me. Okay, we know God would not do that. Do you understand what I'm saying? I know that. But what I'm saying is there's a part inside of me that sees the hypocrisy and the cruelty of Satan being able to come out through humans and hurt us and betray us, and we have trust issues because of this. And he is seeking to engage us, to say, that is not me, that is not my spirit, and I was with you during all of that, and I'm with you now, and I want you to come out of that place. Open the prison gates that you've locked yourself away in, because I'll be real clear with you once again. I was rocking back and forth in a fetal position, just rocking, going, like repeating words like, I'm okay, it's safe in here, it's safe in here, it's safe in here, I'm okay, I'm okay, I'm okay, it's safe in here, it's safe in here, it's safe in here. That is the truth. That is the truth of where I have been, and had to, as an adult consciousness, watch that take place and look to God with tears in my eyes, saying, I don't know what to do. I don't know what to do, because there's a strong part of me that is very angry at you, very bitter. And if you get underneath that, she is scared and she is in pain. And so I want you to know I'm still working through it. And I told you guys, my life is an open book. People read it while it's happening, and that can be unnerving a little bit, and I have to trust that the people that will hear this have good intentions, and that the Lord will block any witchcraft coming against me in any way, shape, or form of negativity and cursing, mockery and ridicule and all of that. So today he's working through trust issues and betrayals in the human form. And what he said to me is the thing that people don't often understand: when there are signs that you're hiding somewhere inside and you can't engage properly to your emotions and to bouncing around fighting the same issues with God about trusting him over and over, is that when you can look at men like humans that have done you wrong and you say, "Yep, I have trust issues against people because people will hurt you and do you wrong." He said it gets reflected back at him whether we realize it or not. because what happens in a healthy state, and I know this from the other healthy states of me, is that when you truly do trust him in areas, then you can look at everybody else and go, they are going to make mistakes, and they're not always going to, it's not always going to be pleasant the way that things play out in my life regarding around me or what I'll experience. But but the unhealed parts of us that will remain saying, yeah, man can't be trusted, the real issue is with trusting God. Because we had to, if we trust God, then no matter what man does to us, it's not really going to personally affect us so much anymore, because we know that God has our best interest. But when you don't believe that God has your best interest, everything inside of you crumbles and it can't stand in safety and security and faith. And I'm having to deal with this little part of me that I didn't realize was there because it either got pushed to the side, pushed down, um, or just I walked right past it because I don't know. I'll be real with you. I don't know what else to do but to not run from him in it now. And I have to go through all these feelings and I have to go through all these emotions, and I can't push him away, and I can't tell him he can't speak to me. And one other sign that I had, a symptom sign, is that people are telling me left, right, and center how much God loves me. And in an intellectual way, I know it. But again, I can't feel it. And I'm pretty sure that's because I have been walled off in a lot of ways. And we have to come out of these prisons inside that we think that we're going to remain safe in there, because what stays in there with us is mistrust and betrayal and fear and all of that. And how can we be healed and whole and well and experience joy and peace and love and safety and all of that if we're locked away inside with its opposite repeating over and over to us all day long? Can God really be trusted? Can God really be trusted? Like the garden. Hath God said? So I am dealing with self condemnation and fear and doubt in God's nature and goodness. And it seems like this has been a very, very long time. And there is still a part of me saying, I may need you to show me that your love is real. Like, show me. You know how it says, blessed are those that don't need to see to believe? I may need that in some way, shape, or form for him to come through, and it isn't going to be through words. So I love you all, and I know that you're speaking the truth to me, but I have to be able to see love. I reached a place inside of him where and he said this to me. He goes, "You want to know why that exists? Because of how many times they told you that in one way or another that they had your best interest at hand, and then they turned on you." So I have to deal with that with God. Does he have my best interest at hand and he's going to turn on me? Is he going to tell me that? And so there's a huge part of me saying, prove it, prove it, prove it, prove it, prove it. He doesn't have to prove anything to any one of us, but I can tell you that from what I've seen him do in the spirit realm to recover souls, just in visions, he wants to prove it. He wants to show us these things in our soul. And so my little girl right now is saying to him, You're showing me in my soul that you want to embrace me and recover me. Do you want this for my flesh too? Because I always wanted someone to come forth and save my flesh from the enemy. Do you understand what I mean, folks, when I say that's not just the teeth thing right now? As an adult, it is, or the body issues. But I mean, as a little girl, I meant from neglect and abuse and rape and emotional abuse and social abuse. I wanted someone to save me from that. And I'm a work in progress. And these are the things that he wanted me to bring forth, because many of you, he's going to be revealing these things inside of you that need healing, however you want to picture it. But as I see it with him, and as many others have seen it, there are these fractured pieces of ourselves that happened during traumas. And I knew it because every time I would rock in that position saying, you're okay, it's safe in here, it's safe in here, it's safe in here. Safe from whom? God and everyone, just locked away, safe in here. It's like, don't engage anyone. As that was happening, and I can see that part of me doing it while the other rational part of me is watching this take place, I kept hearing trauma, trauma, trauma based, trauma, trauma, trauma based. So this is part of me being honest with you all of, number one, what I'm going through and how I could use your prayers. Because I desperately do want integration of all my parts, making them whole, and to know him in his truth in every way, even in him showing me who he is in the land of the living. Because we're in the land of the living, folks. We're in the earth. I need him to show me in the earth his truth. Like I said, I'm not demanding him to, but I am crying out from the depths of the center of a pure part of me that has like no control over telling him this is what I need. Like, you told me you want to fulfill the desires of my heart, and all I've been doing is pouring them out to you. And I see him moving in a way that he is purposing himself to recover my soul, literally. And I have to do the best I can to lock onto, if he's doing that, then just perhaps he wants to save my flesh too. But I reached a place where in all of this, like, it didn't start here, but I think that it was under the covers all the time with the fast, that it's coming out now. And I literally have the twisted stomach going through these things, these realizations, and needing to step out and embrace him and let him embrace me, as scared of him as I may be. And I know that sounds crazy. But he just said again, you're not the only one. You are by far not the only one. And I'm on a mission to recover my people. So I share that with you today, because he's on a mission to recover your souls. And very much he may take you through a process where you don't know why you're operating the way you are, why you're thinking the way you're thinking, why you're reacting the way you are, why it seems childish in some ways. And that might be a part of you that needs to be dealt with, where you locked yourself off somewhere in that garden in a very private place, putting up walls. But you see, he's so big that he sees over them all. There's nothing that can keep him out from knowing. But he's a gentleman, and he's not going to force his way in, because that's what these adults did to me. These mature, supposedly mature figures in my life forced their way in brutally. And they devastated the tender garden of my soul. And he just keeps saying, shh, shh, shh. It's okay, I'm here. And that's it right now. And I know that at some point these things will go. All of these emotions will work through them, and I will choose to embrace him, and he will save my parts. He will recover them all. But number one, if you're doing this with anyone else out there, I want to thank you on behalf of my own soul and the Lord, because you're working with him to help recover souls. I have been doing this when I can with others, and in my own life, and self deliverance. It's not really self, it's self coming into agreement with the Lord and allowing him to show us these things and partnering with him. But I want to thank you for doing the Lord's work. It's that is going to be a great portion of the first fruits. That is the healing of hearts. It's the healing of the soul. It's the coaxing people out from their hiding places within. And it's the integration of their fractured parts, pulling another part or a piece back together that was estranged from yourself and from God, to where even you can embrace that little girl part or little boy part of you and say, what you went through is valid, and no one shames you for that. But now in safety with the Lord, you can come out, and it's a process. When I'm in the middle of it, man. But the beauty is that it's God revealing himself. And on the other side of this, when I am completely integrated, whenever that is, completely converted inside, completely changed around, and it needs repentance. Even though that little girl suffered trauma, she needs repentance, which means a change in thinking. Because without that, there cannot be that true freedom. And so he's working right now to reassure me, convince me, however you want to look at it, that he can be trusted. So I don't know how that process is going to go, but I am telling him that I'm willing and I'm putting my effort into embracing him in this, and I'm going to have to work through it with him. But my point is that once I get strengthened, I turn and I strengthen the brethren. Once I get whole in these places, I turn and I help you. And he just said it in many instances, in the middle of it, you are, like this video. So I encourage you today that if you see the signs and symptoms that you're walled off from God, not trusting him and doubting him in some of these areas, it's a form of self-condemnation. It's a form of self-suicide in the soul. And what I mean is, suicide is a form of death, which is estrangement. And when we put ourselves in those places, we are self-estranging, and we are putting ourselves in a death state. So we have to repent from wanting to hide from him and come out from hiding and trust him in the best possible way that we can, no matter what is happening to us now, because we have the ability as an adult to see the truth of these things and to sweetly talk to those little spaces inside of us to say, you can trust him to come out. Betrayal and not being able to trust people because of that betrayal has taken place, but he's not here to betray you. And he doesn't want to reject you. You can see him reaching for you. So I pray, Father, that in some way, shape, or form, if this all feels chaotic inside of my being right now still, so I'm praying it's beneficial to the people who have heard it. And I pray that you're able today to show them if they have any signs or symptoms of being afraid of him or distrusting of him, and they've been holed up inside some place that they can't connect emotionally or in joy or in positivity or hope or peace or something, God, that you will reveal it to them, and that they will seek you out on this matter to sort through with you what their beliefs are, what they're really saying inside, so it can be dealt with in its instance towards you. Because man can do what man's going to do because of free will. These things happen because of free will, but you can turn and use all of these instances that I've been through, and abuses and neglects and betrayals and pain and suffering and rejection and all of that, and the trust that you can turn that all around on the other side of the healing, and we can go and we can mend broken hearts, and we can pull these things up into their remembrance to deal with, so that they too, in a self deliverance, if there's a self deliverance with God, meaning self comes into agreement with God to come out of these spaces, then there can also be self condemnation, which is locking yourself away in an imprisonment to punish yourself in a continual state of these horror stories that have taken place in our life, but they don't need to take place anymore, because you are trustworthy, you are faithful, and you are true, and you are loving, and you're for me, not against me, and you have adopted me, and I am received, and that you will desire to heal them in those spaces so that they can be stronger and confident in who you are, and put these things behind us as milestones of where our relationship and our healing has taken place in the land of the living. And again, Father, it is a very difficult place for me to trust you in the flesh realm, which I didn't realize how strong that was, but at least I understand it a bit more today, and I am doing the best I can to embrace you in who you are, that you want to rescue me and deliver me in all my realms, in every part of me, which includes the body, soul, and spirit in its entirety. And that's what you want for your children. And I pray that this blesses them today and encourages them, and possibly gives them some homework to seek you in these matters and to sit through it all. I can't run from it. They cannot run from it. We have to embrace this painful buffering, if you will, this the things that are like sandpaper against us, that we don't like these feelings and emotions, but they were all locked up inside. And setting these things free means that they have to come out, and sometimes they come out and we feel them as they come out, and that's part of deliverance. And I'm not going to run from you, and I pray that they won't run from you through it all either, and they will still keep taking your hand and trusting you, and you will, with every moment that passes, continually show them your faithfulness and your omnipresence, that you're never going to leave them, and you're never going to betray them, and you're never going to step back from them and forsake them, and that their confidence in you will build every day, God, and they will become stronger and stronger in you. And when they are strengthened, then they will turn and strengthen their brethren as well, Father. And I love you.